Hi, I'm Holly Burleson. I'm a user experience designer and front-end developer, and today we are going to be talking about all the things I messed up in my first year as a UX designer. I feel like my whole life people kind of have the idea that you're either you're either right-brained or you're left-brained, and you're either creative or you're technical. And for me, I felt my entire life that I was equally both. I didn't know what I could do with that, so I did something completely different.
And now for something completely different.
Which I probably shouldn't have done, but it led me back to the right place. It made me feel like I could be myself and that I didn't have to choose. So I just passed my official 1-year mark of being a UX designer. I've been trying to break into the field for about 3 years.
It's been 84 years.
So I have my memories, I have this little notepad, and we're just gonna get right into it. Some of these are definitely embarrassing and a little bit cringy, but I think that's okay because in the past year I've grown a lot as a designer and I want to impart my knowledge unto you. That's worth. Number 1, art does not equal design. Design, especially in the context of user experience design, is less about art and aesthetics and more about function and flow. When you see aesthetically pleasing designs online, usually those aesthetics serve a purpose. That purpose is to be memorable and to also stay true to your brand. The aesthetics are just an extension of purpose when it comes to design. When I first started, I was so inspired by a lot of the things that I was seeing, and since I didn't have a degree in design and I felt really lucky to be there, I wanted to prove that I could be different and unique and creative. And while all that is good, if it's just in the vein of having things kind of look cool and be aesthetic, that's not really the overall purpose. So this one kind of flows into number 2. When I first started, I made a lot of assumptions in design. And a big part of being a user experience designer is being impartial and not assuming things. So I would get into design reviews and I wouldn't use the right header or I wouldn't use the right footer. Sometimes I would show a screen and they would have numbers and a total, and then the total wouldn't match up. Little things like that, even though they're small and you're assuming that other people are kind of getting the gist, they can actually kind of derail your UX meetings because it's not like it would be in real life. So things need to be pixel perfect, and even those little things, make sure you dial them in so that in your design reviews you're really focusing on the design and not getting distracted by all of the little things. This one brings me on to number 3. I wanted to prove myself so bad that I tried all of these different things when I was creating a page versus staying consistent with the things that we had on the site. And this is a huge one. In design, consistency is everything, because across all of your pages, across everything in your app, you want it to all feel consistent. If you use a back button in one place, the back button needs to be the same icon in the same place everywhere. Same thing goes for colors, same thing goes for button treatments, same thing goes for layouts and flows and language, lots of things like that. Consistency is the most important part of design so that users are able to quickly and easily move through your design. Okay, number 4 is a doozy because it's about accessibility. If you don't know what accessibility means, it just means designing for everyone, and I mean everyone, not just neurotypical people. Accessibility can cover things from colorblindness to dyslexia to epilepsy. It also covers people who maybe aren't able to click on a mouse or people who are blind and use screen readers. There's a lot of things that go into that. It's just good design. There's no trade-offs when it comes to accessibility. The more accessible your sites are, the better they are for everyone. So this one brings us on to number 5, and that is designing for a global audience. This may not apply to everyone, as you might only be working for a company that is in your area, in your country, in your language. When you're designing for a global audience, it's really important to think about how your designs will fit into other languages. In English, we read left to right, top to bottom, and English words are relatively short when you compare them to other languages like French or Arabic. So when you're designing for a global audience, you also have to think about, like, if you're designing something in English and then you have to translate it into Arabic, is the font that you're using working? Does your design still make sense reading from right to left versus the other way around? And little things like different types of symbols, not using metaphors, especially sports metaphors, in your iconography, your imagery, or your wording is something that could potentially cause problems when you're going across nations and continents. The things that we have over here don't always make sense in another country. Like, I see it all the time where people, for the money symbol, they use the $sign. Well, if you're in Europe, it's the euro or a different form of a currency. So you have to find ways to make symbols universal. You need to make sure that on the global experience that still makes sense. That's a big one. And along with that is designing for an imperfect world. You know, here a lot of times you'll see when people make mock-ups, they'll use a name like John Smith or something really short and very Americanized. But you also have to think about people who have really, really long names. How is that going to look and perform in your design? Is there room for it? Does it look okay? Are you able to show the whole name, or do you have to truncate it? All of those little interactions are things that we have to think about. So my last one for you today isn't so much of a mistake, but more of something that I didn't expect coming into the UX world, and this one's about feedback. Yes. It can be really easy to take feedback personally, but you have to be able to separate yourself from you and your design. Your work does not determine your worth. A lot of times the design that ships isn't the one that you like best, and you have to be able to pull back and say, this is good enough, and ship it. And if everybody's happy, you ship it. It is so much better to ship something that is good enough than to wait for something to be perfect or what you perceive to be perfect. So for today, I think that is it. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that this helped you. If you have any other tips, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.